You're watching FJTN, the Federal Judicial Television Network.
As the transition to case management electronic case files continues, courts face the challenge of training attorneys and their staffs to use the system. This is handled in a variety of ways, as some courts require training and others leave it up to the attorneys to learn on their own using online materials. We recently visited the Bankruptcy Court for the Western District of Kentucky to learn how it handles the job. The court mandates that all cases be filed electronically.
The court requires attorneys to attend ECF training. Clerk of Court Diane Roble and her staff decided to provide training for the prolific filers early, 3 months prior to going live.
We tried to provide as many resources as we could, thinking that the better we handled this job up front, the less work we would have on the back end as those attorneys and their staff started to use the system.
We knew that if we could get the bulk of the attorneys in quickly and they could start test filing, it gave them more time to learn it, and it was better for them as well as for us in the end.
For those who are a little resistant to the ECF training, I personally would call them on the phone, talk to them, go over the situation, what requirements were needed, what it was really about. We wanted to provide them with customer service, the best customer service we could here at the court.
Most judges like to say that if you have a lot of smart attorneys, you're going to look a lot smarter on the bench, and so you have to get them involved. I would strongly suggest that the judges have some sort of seminar or luncheon, some sort of informal communication where they invite the attorneys to come in.
But Judge Stossberg did more than make himself available to attorneys.
And so I actually went to the training, went to it with no preconceived notions, and participated in it. And the attorneys were surprised and happy to see that we were joining in.
You will be experts at this by the time you leave class, I promise, okay?
When we first started training attorneys, it was absolutely exhausting. We trained 11 sessions a week, 2 a day at 4 hours a pop, plus 1 on Saturdays. We had 10 people coming in at a time, so 100 people came through our doors each week, and there was still all the preparation to be done.
At times we felt very overwhelmed. There was no other life other than ECF, but it was our goal to hit these prolific filers and have them trained.
We wanted to get everyone into training as close as we could to the actual time of going live, because it provided them both with time to do test filing, but also we didn't train them so far in advance that they would lose all of their skills before we actually went live.
Just to tell you what a few of these other buttons do, if you click on the review button, it's going to tell you.
Roble wanted a team of proficient trainers, most of whom turned out to be case administrators with other responsibilities.
She allowed the training team to totally be removed from their other positions so we could focus strictly on training these attorneys and be ready to go by our mandatory date.
What that did was it cut down on the number of people we had available to do the case administrator work, and consequently we were short supplied. So we did have to ask for additional resources, and we were fortunate in that the AO was positioned to be able to provide us with additional resources. We hired 8 temporary staff members to get us through that time period.
Everything we did was designed to facilitate and make the job of our customers, our attorneys, easy as we can. And all the credit goes to Susan and others in the training. She provided the leadership in the training area, and they made it fun.
And we want you to get in this habit. We were told of an attorney who attached his grocery list instead of the document. That could happen. So many attorneys and their office staff, they have that fear when they come to the court as to what is this all about. I think the atmosphere makes them comfortable. Having fun even in a stressful situation, can relieve a lot of tension.
It's our philosophy, not just mine, but the entire office, that you've got to be able to laugh as you're doing things. If you can't laugh, sometimes it feels like, well, it's intensely work.
The office adopted a theme, Catch the Wave, and decorated the training room to help create a less intense atmosphere.
It adds a little fun to it, makes it a little lighter. Personally, I do better when I'm having fun or when I'm not so uptight.
We think learning sinks in better if you have fun doing it.
When you work in law, there is a lot of pressure, and anytime the atmosphere and environment can be lightened up a little bit, it's a nice, pleasant relief.
I think that by helping people learn those skills, we not only improve job performance, but job satisfaction and confidence. We relieve a lot of fears in training.
What happens if you attach a document and you actually file it and send it to the court, and you realize almost immediately or an hour later that you've sent the wrong document?
Call the court immediately, yes, if you catch it. I'll show you, at this point, I'll show you where the cutoff point, so if you were to catch it before you actually sent it to the court, you could stop it at any time. It's not going to be sent. But if it's already gone through, yes, call us immediately and we'll take care of whatever it is.
The most difficult thing about being a CM-ECF trainer is that it's very rare for everyone in a class to start at the same level. We have novices and we have advanced students, and you have to find a way to pace that so that you don't lose people or go too fast.
The clerk's office helps solve that difficulty by keeping class size small and by giving as much one-on-one attention as possible.
That's okay to say okay.
It's good to see.
There we go. Okay, great.
They always have both an instructor and someone to operate the computer, and sometimes a third trainer to walk about solving individual problems.
So I was very nervous coming in today. And she was nice enough to stop and help me when I would begin to panic because I wasn't keeping up.
Each class lasts 3 to 4 hours, but the trainers have plenty to do before the students arrive.
Preparing to teach a class is very time-consuming here for us. Each participant receives a manual.
The 300-page manual covers all the training information and examples of screens. Plus,
we create the agendas. We prepare the logins and passwords. So once they leave training that day, they are certified as an electronic case filer and may leave and start filing electronically. So each class, as far as prep time goes, probably takes about 3 hours.
Roble is emphatic about what it takes to make attorney training successful.
I would say, hands down, having enthusiastic trainers, good people who are genuinely interested and willing to give of themselves to produce good materials, to provide good, interesting training.
The clerk's office also makes sure that each person trained has a contact at the court.
So that if questions arise after they've been trained and that they're working on the system, then they have a contact person that they've seen, they've met, they know their name, and can call directly to them to ask for assistance.
You have to have a good support system in place for when they go back into the real world and do this.
I can check that for you, or I can transfer you to our help desk.
The key is communication, keeping the lines open, letting them know that we're here to help them as a court. The computer-based training modules that the attorneys could view before coming to training if they would like. Those are still out on our website. We also have our training manual, and any updates to that manual is also on our website. Any information that the attorney needs to know immediately is posted on our systems news along with being emailed.
I would say that the attorneys who, some were adamantly opposed to electronic case filing and being required to undergo training and to change the way of doing business, have been, in a very short period of time, have been our greatest supporters, and have come back and said this was the best thing that we could have done.
We're going to have graduation, so get your tissues out. This is that touchy moment, okay? And remember, you do graduate today, okay? This is our graduating class of March 11th. And you need to clap for your fellow classmates, okay? Jill Martino, yay!
Once the attorneys get comfortable with it, and again, I think the training process is what allows them to get comfortable with it. They're going to find that it's extremely efficient and that it really does meet their needs as much as it meets the court's needs.
And to the judges, I would say that you have to be A+ in computer appreciation. You don't have to be a nerd. You don't have to be A+ in computer skills, but you have to have that appreciation.
Almost 2 years after going live, the court continues to provide one training class each week.
There's a big turnover in office staff. We'll have paralegals and secretaries. We also have those that are passing the bar, and we've had a few that have come back for additional training.
Craven's philosophy to make training successful is simple but effective.
For those that are starting out with CMECF attorney training, make it fun, not just for the attorneys but for yourself. I think that will relieve a lot of the stress and pressure that you may be under. The second thing I would suggest is communication. Leave those doors wide open. Let the attorneys know that they can contact you.
I'm terribly proud of our staff and how well they've taken on what I would consider to be a huge, complex transition, and have done it in a very short period of time, and have done it so successfully. It makes me beam.
The Center makes available a web-based ECF tutorial for attorneys and law firm staff. You can access it by going to the FJC's site on the court's intranet on the DCN and click on ECF 101 tutorials. There are both district and bankruptcy court versions, as well as answers to other questions. On a previous program, we saw how a bankruptcy court clerk's office handles CMECF training for attorneys and finds ways to reduce the stress of learning something new. Today, we follow that up with a visit to the district court for the Southern District of Indiana, which emphasizes customer service and the benefits of CMECF.
The court has been live with CMECF for civil cases for more than 2 years and has used a variety of strategies to encourage attorneys to file electronically.
The support from our judges has helped attorneys see that this is a lasting program and that they are expected to participate from here on out.
If we issue our orders electronically and we show that we're ready to accept electronic filings and willing and encouraging to do that, lawyers follow real quickly. They like to do things the way they think judges like to have them done.
And the best thing we ever did was start attending paralegal meetings and paralegal luncheons and pitching it to the paralegals. We pitched to the legal assistants and the paralegals because we knew with them we would turn the tide.
At the divisional office in Evansville, CMECF training is among the several responsibilities of Deputy Clerk Tina Doyle.
A lot of people want to put it off for as long as they can before they learn about the system because they don't accept change very well. The best way I've overcome that is to just show them how positive I am about the system. It's up to those of us who train to introduce CMECF in such a way that the attorneys will wonder how they ever practiced without it before.
Carpentier says that trainees' attitude is also important. She wants them to be interested in learning.
And in order to do that, I usually start off each training session by telling the trainees a little bit something about the benefits of using CMECF to get them interested and to get them wanting to learn more. And it's really convenient because when they receive that email from the court, service has been achieved. That replaces conventional paper service. So you no longer have to provide a paper copy to opposing counsel. Saves you a little bit of time and money on copying and putting postage, addressing envelopes, that kind of thing.
But there are more benefits for attorneys.
It allows them to get instantaneous access to court rulings, sometimes even before the other guy. And reminding attorneys of that has been an enormously powerful tool to get them to sign up.
And even more.
Everyone in the court system can have access to that file at the same time. The lawyers can look at every pleading. They don't tie that file up by coming into the clerk's office saying, I want to see the thus-and-so file, and then the judge can't see it at the same time. We save a great deal of time by having full access to the file itself at all times.
Of course, no matter how successful the pitch, there's still the training.
It's a hands-on training session that we offer here at the courthouse. In our training room, each attendee gets their own computer, or I can use this text window to add additional text about my filing. So I'm going to say, not only is this a motion to dismiss that I'm filing, but within my motion, I've asked the judge to set this for a hearing. After a period of instruction, they can actually do some test filings of their own and get the feel for how electronic filing works.
The most helpful part of the training today was the hands-on, using actually the computers and walking us through the process, so it's not just reading a book and trying to figure it out.
After you've closed out of the document, you can attach it by clicking open. Then step number 2 is to describe it. So enter a description. You can make something up if you want to.
The most helpful in the training today was learning about the attachments and how the exhibits are done and how they're to be presented to the court.
At the Evansville Division, the Law Library doubles as a training room with 2 stations.
The secret to successful CMECF training for the attorneys is keeping it simple and making it as fun as possible.
Even though the training takes only about an hour, Doyle says that with smaller firms and sole practitioners, it can be difficult to convince them to spend the time to train.
To help them get over that obstacle of finding time with me, I keep my schedule as flexible as possible. If I get a call from an attorney that happens to have a spare hour the afternoon of the phone call, I try to be as flexible as I possibly can. I figure that it's our product. We want them to use it, so I need to sell it in any way I can by making that training time available to them. It would take much more time to correct the mistake if they were to file it improperly, and I can even go to their offices for some training. I have a laptop, a projector, and even a portable screen that I can take with me if I need to do training in their offices.
Carpentier also provides training at law firms' offices, and
our smaller offices, the Terre Haute and New Albany divisions, do not have a training coordinator, and I periodically make visits to those offices to handle training for attorneys that practice in that area.
As of September 1st, will the requirement of serving paper documents be gone completely?
The clerk's office offers multiple means of training.
We do have the online tutorials posted on our website, and attorneys are encouraged to use them to practice using CMECF and to get the feel for how it works.
For attorneys not near any court, there's telephone training.
Actually, it sounds a little bit awkward, but it works very well. Usually the trainer is in front of his or her computer and logged into CMECF, and so is the trainee, and they can kind of talk through the screens together and see how the filing works.
There's even unscheduled telephone training.
Attorneys will call our office even moments before our office closes and want to obtain some kind of training, and in that instance I usually initiate a phone training session right there on the spot, and we'll talk them through the training or the filing process.
That's been one of our more successful training tools, the live and on the phone right now by 5 p.m. filing.
Briggs says that when they first went live with CMECF, a chronic problem was late-in-the-day calls from attorneys who were not registered, not trained, and who didn't have PDF conversion software. The clerk's office decided to take a labor-intensive approach for the short run to achieve less work in the long run.
If someone calls at 4, we often let them fax their attorney registration, and then we will often let them email. This is a one-time deal only. Email a document to us in WordPerfect or whatever. We'll convert it to PDF. We email it back, and then we get with them on the phone and we walk them step by step by step through the filing process.
That usually works pretty well, and they're very happy with the result because they get their document filed and they don't miss their deadline.
And our theory was if we really bent over backwards for those first-time filers, even the non-compliant, that we'd kind of get happy attorneys who saw how easy it was to use the system, and then the next time they could file on their own, probably even without a phone call to us.
Carpentier says that CMECF training doesn't end when attorneys or their staff leave the training room. It's a constant activity for the clerk's office.
Our clerk, Laura Briggs, answers phone calls from attorneys who have questions. I answer phone calls. You're responding to a summary judgment motion, is that right? Okay, so you're going to select that option, and you'll see that then it pops up in that field right there on the screen. And once you've done that, you can go ahead and click Next. Everyone in the office is dedicated to educating attorneys, and I think that's what really helps out.
For example, staff at the intake counter answer calls from attorneys asking about CMECF, and case administrators check attorney filings.
If they find an error, they not only have to correct the error, but they contact the attorney to let the attorney know about the error and help educate them about avoiding that error in the future.
There's a world of benefits to CMECF, and I think the work we do at the front end and accommodating attorneys really pays off.
I think what helped me the most was seeing how you can navigate through the system and how the information is so readily available.
The most rewarding part of training attorneys in CMECF is the ultimate satisfaction I get when I get that first filing from an attorney that's just been trained and it's correct. It's also a great feeling to have a user call me and tell me how simple it is or share with me how beneficial the system has been for their firm.
At first it was far more complicated and I was a little intimidated about doing it, but feel far more comfortable now.
When I start to see more attorneys filing electronically and I see our docket filled with attorney filings, I think that's the payoff in the end for the training sessions that we do. They are registered and they will receive electronic notice of anything that you file electronically in this case.
The FJC makes available several educational tools to help courts train attorneys for CMECF. There are electronic case filing tutorials for the bar, featuring online templates for bankruptcy, civil, and criminal cases. These tutorials are designed to reside on a court's public server and include instructions on how to customize them for the district. Information is available at the web address on the screen or by contacting Jim Buchanan. There also are 2 curriculum packages. Developing a CMECF training plan is a 1.5-day facilitated planning session that helps courts customize training. Customer service in a CMECF environment gives insights into different customer communication styles and competency levels and can be taught by any experienced court trainer. Contact Phyllis Drum for information about either package.